Alright, for this lesson we are continuing to compare rational numbers, and in the last lesson we are comparing fractions and decimals, and we talked about how to do that, and the difference today is we're going to add some negative numbers into the situation. So let's review the answers to the do now first, so you go ahead and turn to the next page, please. Okay, just very briefly, this first one is almost kind of a trick question, but it's good to think about that a positive number is always greater than a negative number. No matter what the two numbers are, positive is going to be greater than negative. And then this one is getting at what we're talking about today. Once again, if you can just plot numbers on a number line correctly, then you can see easily which one is greater, because the number to the right is always going to be greater than the one to the left, or the one to the left is going to be less than the one to the right. All right, go ahead to the next page and we will get started with the lesson. All right, so the task here is to order these numbers. And remember, we talked about when you have decimals and you're trying to place them on a number line, dividing your sections into tenths makes your life much easier. So let's take a moment and divide this into tenths first. So you may want to stop the video for a second and take a moment to do that. All right, here's a number line divided into tenths. Now let's place these numbers in the correct place on the number line. So first of all, we have 0.8. So starting from negative 0.8, we have negative 0.1, negative 0.2, negative 0.3, negative 0.4, negative 0.5, negative 0.6, negative 0.7, negative 0.8. So I'm going to put that here, negative 0.8. Put a big dot there. Notice how I'm counting backwards as I go to the left. All right, negative 1.2. So again, here's all the way to negative 1. Then I have negative 1.1. Negative 1.2 is going to be there. So I'm going to put a big dot there, and that's negative 1.2. And then we have negative 1.5. So again, here's negative 1, negative 1.1, negative 1.2, negative 1.3, negative 1.4, negative 1.5. So we're going to put a big dot there. That's negative 1.5. Now, once you've correctly found these numbers on the number line, ranking them is easy. Now, of course, this says from greatest to least, so that's important. So we have to start with the largest number, and remember that the largest number is on the right. The largest number is on the right. Then we move to the left to get smaller. So the correct order for this is negative 0.8, negative 1.2, and negative 1.5. All right, so to summarize the key idea here, numbers blank in value as you move to the right or up on a number line. And of course, that answer is numbers increase. And similarly, as you move to the left and down on a number line, numbers are going to decrease. So again, if you can place the numbers correctly on a number line, it's very easy to put them in the correct order. All right, go ahead and turn to the next page, please. So in this problem, let's read it first. On 2 consecutive plays, the AF football team lost yards. The first play, they moved the ball negative 5.5 yards, and on the second play, they moved the ball negative 5.25 yards, or negative 5 1/4 yards. On which play did they lose the fewer yards? So really this problem is about comparing these two numbers. So let's write those numbers down. We have negative 5.5, and we're comparing that with negative 5.25. So the question is, if these were on a number line, where would they be? So I'm going to draw a quick number line, and I'm going to start it at negative 5. I'll put the next one at negative 6. And we're dealing with halves and fourths, so let's divide this into fourths. Okay, I've divided that place between negative 5 and negative 6 into fourths. And negative 5.25 is going to be here, because I'm going backwards, so negative 5, negative 5 1/4, negative 5 2/4, negative 5 3/4, negative 6. So this is negative 5 1/4. And where's negative 5.5 going to be? Well, that's halfway between negative 5 and negative 6. And keep in mind, if we follow this pattern, this would be negative 5 2/4, but 2/4 reduces to 1/2. So this right there, that point is negative 5 1/2. So the number to the right is always going to be the greater number, or the number to the left is the smaller number. You can look at it either way. In any case, the correct comparison, we open up to the larger number, right? So negative 5.5 is less than negative 5 1/4 because it's to the left of negative 5 1/4. All right, let's take a look at the next example. So we've seen some problems like this before, where we look at the altitudes of various cities. Altitudes is the same as height. Right, I'm going to just write that to make sure you know what that word means. It's really the height above sea level. Okay. And we're looking at 3 different cities and their heights. And the first question asks us to represent these temperatures on the number line. And notice that there's no starting point here. So I think the best thing is to put a 0 somewhere on the number line. And I'm going to put it kind of in the middle. But I do notice that I have a large number, 13. So I'm not going to actually put it quite in the middle. I'm going to put it a little bit to the left. And I'm going to call this point 0. Just to make sure I have enough dots so I can find 13 on this number line. All right. So if this is 0, I need to get to 6, so it's positive 6, so I'm going to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's put a big dot on that. Okay, that's 6. And then it also wants 13, so I'm going to keep counting, right? So we have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So let's put a big dot on that one, and that's 13. All right, so we've knocked the 6 and the 13 off. Now we need the negative 6.5, so we're going to start at 0 again and count backwards. So we're at 0, then we know it's negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. And then I need to be somewhere in the middle. Negative 6.5 is going to be in between because the next one's negative 7. So I'm going to put a dot between negative 6 and negative 7. I'm going to label those, though. All right, that's -6. That's -7. So I'm going to put a big dot right in the middle to be -6.5. All right, let's look at question B. Write a statement of inequality comparing the elevation of Miami and New Orleans and explain how you determined your inequality. All right, so which one is Miami? Miami was 6, so I'm going to circle that one. And New Orleans was -6.5, so let's circle that one. And it wants to know, it wants to compare them. So let's see, so 6 is Miami, and -6.5 is New Orleans. I'm just going to put NO for that. And it says write a statement of inequality. So we're looking to say which number is greater than the other. One's positive, one's negative, so that's an easy one, right? So we can say that -6.5 is less than 6. And that's our inequality. That's our statement of inequality. And how did we figure that out? Well, I guess you could say positive is always greater than negative. You could also say that this altitude is to the right of this altitude, which would make this larger and make that smaller. All right, for part C, using your understanding of absolute value, so we're bringing this back into the situation, and the number line, find the difference in elevation of San Diego and New Orleans. All right, so clearly this is San Diego, which we'll label as SD, and it wants the distance between New Orleans and San Diego. So that's going to be from here to here. So we know distance has something to do with absolute value, and whenever we have a negative number, we have to look at it in two pieces, one to the right of 0 and one to the left of 0. So I know that to the right of 0, my distance is 13 to San Diego. So I'm going to start with that. And I have to add the distance to the left of 0 from here to the -6.5. And I'm going to use absolute value to write that because I want the distance between 0 and -6.5. And we know that the absolute value of -6.5 is a positive 6.5. And when you add 13 and 6.5 together, you get 19.5. And there is your final answer. All right, you can go ahead to the next page, please. So in this example, I want you to order these 4 numbers and from least to greatest. So again, your job is to put these on the number line in the correct place. So notice that the number line is divided into fifths between whole numbers. There are 5 sections, so that's good news because all our numbers are in fifths. So let's go ahead and plot these points. So let's start with a -5 and a fifth. So I'm headed at -5. Again, I'm going in the negative direction, so -5 and 1/5 is going to be right there. So let's plot that point and call it A. And then let's look at B. That's -6 and 3/5. So here's negative sixth, and keep going backwards to get there's negative 6 and 1/5, 2/5, and negative 6 and 3/5. So we're going to put a dot there and label that B. Alright, so now we have C is negative 5 and 2/5, so starting at negative 5, moving to the left to get to 2/5. We're going to have a point there. So we're going to put a dot there and label that B. And then finally, we have negative 6 and 4/5. So negative 5, negative 6, and then 1, 2, 3, 4/5 is going to put point D right there. Okay, so we're ordering from least to greatest, so we go from left to right on the number line. So I'm just going to use the letters to indicate this. We have D, B, what did I do wrong? I labeled one of these incorrectly. This should be C, not A. Sorry about that. So then C is next, and then A is next. Alright. So I'd like you to stop the video and do the same thing for this next problem, and then come back and check the answer to see how you did. Alright, go ahead and check the placements of these letters. Make sure you got the right order. Make sure they are placed in the right position on the number line as well. Alright, once you've checked your answer and fixed any mistakes you might have made, you can go ahead and turn to the next page, please. Alright, on this page is 3 more practice problems just like those. It's really important that you get good at this, so please pause the video, work on these, and then come back and check your answers. Alright, go ahead and check out these answers, and let's take a quick look at number 3. That was kind of a tricky one. So our sections are divided into tenths, but some of our numbers aren't written in fractions of tenths like C and D are, but I can convert them to tenths using equivalent fractions, which we learned earlier in the year. So 1/2 is the same as 5/10, or you could have just realized that you're going halfway between negative 7 and negative 8. 1/5 is a little bit trickier, but that's the same as 2/10, multiplying the top and the bottom by 2, so that's why B ended up in that place as well. You could also have divided negative 7 and negative 8 into groups of 5, and that would have worked out the same way. So that one was a little bit tricky. Alright, go ahead and turn to the next page, please. Alright, check out these answers. And just wanted to bring your attention to some of the numbers here. So negative 0.8, how did I know that that went here? Well, I know that negative 0.8 is the same as negative 8/10. And I know that reduces to negative 4/5. So that's how I figured out this point here, because that's going to be negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4/5. And of course 4/10 I can also reduce. 4/10 reduces to 2/5. So that's how I knew that this one went to 2/5, because it's the same as 4/10. Alright, go ahead and turn to the next page, please. Alright, here's a couple more practice problems. These should be pretty quick though, so go ahead and stop the video, do these problems, and then check back to see what your answers are. Alright, right, check these answers out and let me know if you have any questions. All right, go ahead to the next page for the target. See if we met our target problem. All right, go ahead and put these numbers in order, but note it says from greatest to least, not least to greatest, so keep that in mind. Don't let that trick you. Go ahead, stop the video for a bit and put these numbers in order, and then come back and check your answer. All right, check out these answers. If you got something different, see if you can figure out where you went wrong. I would consider using a number line if you're not sure where I got these and place them correctly on the number line. All right, once you've finished this, please do the video assessment and turn that sheet in to me when you're done. And then there are lots of extra practice problems in this packet for you to work on if you do finish that. So let me know if you have any questions. So go ahead and turn to the next page and go ahead and complete this video assessment. And like I said, turn this in to me when you are done.